Hi, this is Stephen St. John with another video, and this is a follow-up that we had the one previous about in the previous live that we've had before. And I want to continue a little bit what she more discussed, and I'm going to be covering kind of three things to talk about. But the first thing I'm going to talk about is deja vu. And the way she explained it is that sometimes when we have deja vu, is that sometimes we've done this before. We've experienced it before, somehow in some way. And most of it, and I've been kind of looking into it, most of it can be kind of written off. You may have had similar experiences, you may have had similar situations, whatever. So the deja vu kind of comes in, but there are a few that cannot be written off. There are a few that you really have just sensed that you've done this before, and here's how she explained it. You have. You've done it before. Everybody knows that when you pass and you go to the next life, you have a review of your life. What is interesting is that you have a review of your life to be. In other words, you have a review before you were born what the life is going to be, because that's part of the decision that you're going to have. And one thing I want to point out too is free will, but that's going to be another video how important free will is. But getting back to the whole idea of deja vu is that what she explains is that when you have the review before you were born, you actually see images. You see all the images. You really kind of experience that before you're actually born. And I talked about that before, before you were born and you put into the womb, everything, you go in this body of water, and as soon as your head goes under, all the information that you have is temporarily deleted. All the people that you've known on the previous lifetime, everything, the knowledge you have, that you accumulated has all been deleted temporarily. But not all of it. And sometimes the images come back, that the memory kind of recalls things. So when you have deja vu, you've actually experienced it. And what I mean is that review before you were born, you saw the images. So sometimes in this lifetime, when you experience it, you have experienced it. You have seen it. But not, as I said before, most of it can be written off, but there are a few that really, just like, boy, you just know you've done this before. I want to continue with the next subject because I'm really trying to keep the time down. The next subject that she talked about is when we're born in this lifetime, we're limited. So what do I mean by limited? In other words, the way she described it is that the limitations is because you have to be limited in order to really to live in this world. It has to be real. If you maintain and have the experience that you had in the previous life, or all the spiritual sense that you have, living in this life wouldn't be real. So that's why it's temporarily deleted, and that's why it's limited, because our scope, we have a hard time, and I talked about the last time, it was really hard for me to get the idea that we've been, hundreds, maybe thousands of lives before this one. So our mind is, but I'll tell you what she described is that once we go, and once our time is up and we go back, all of it's going to come back. All that you've known before will all come back. The people you've known will all come back. The spiritual friends that you've had for eons of time. You've known them for, you can't explain the time, but you've known them for a long time. These are your closest spiritual friends you have. And so, as I said, a lot of what I'm talking about is, God, it's amazing, the thinking about it. But I got to tell you one thing, and I want to get off on a side note a little bit. Why am I doing these videos? The reason for these videos is to give you a perspective. And I got to tell you, the lives that what we've had in the last year with COVID and all the stuff that has gone on, and all the stuff that we have been going through, each one of us, whether it's financial, whether it's just being ill, whatever it may be, or losing a loved one, whatever, we have really gone through quite a bit. And so, I just to give you to step back a little bit and get more of it, because what we're talking about is a big picture. In fact, it is so grand, it's hard to comprehend, but there is a much bigger picture. So what I'm trying to do in these videos is to kind of give you, to step back a little bit and look at the things that we go through. There's a reason for all this. Sometimes you really don't understand why, but there is a reason. But I want to get back to the last thing that I want to talk about. I got off on a tangent, I apologize for it, but the last thing I want to talk about, like the laws of physics. She explained like the laws of physics. It is the law of knowledge. Now, what do I mean by the law of knowledge? The law of knowledge really is basically is the law of opposition. I'm going to take my prayer book, and you can see this thing is pretty old. And so I'm going to go and read a passage here that one of the prayers I do when I'm visiting with patients. But it really kind of illustrates, very shortly, just a segment of it, it really illustrates the law of opposition. In it, it says, where there is doubt, faith. Where there's despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. And where there's sadness, joy. The law of opposition is opposites. In order for us to really learn, in order for us to understand things, we have to know one to know the other. We have to have opposites, like from day and night. Love and beauty, we have to have these opposites and how we interact with those opposites. That's how we learn. So when I talked about, that what do we do for infinity, this is a part of it. It's the knowledge that we're gaining our souls, and it defines who our soul is, or basically who we are. It defines who we are. We go through all these experiences, and it's continuously defining who we are. And I'm going to go ahead and close earlier because I'm right at 6 minutes here. But the one thing you have to understand is that there is I talked about, there was a prayer that I said, or the message from God, the great I am. I am. That's who you are. I am. And it's really, you're one of a kind. There is no one like you whatsoever. And so, I am. That is more profound than you may think, but you will, as your soul is developing, you really get a sense of when I talked about defining who you are, it's defining who I am. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and close here, and again, I'm going to wish you, I hope your day is going well. And I just want to say one thing, too, real quickly, and I'm running out of time here, but the one thing that we've all been going through quite a bit. And I see patients sometimes, and I'm not getting into it right now, but I mean, it's really hard for me. And I go home and I tell my wife every time that I come home how blessed we really are, because things can get real bad. And all of us, in one way or another, have our moments of tribulation. We have our moments. Sometimes they're not moments, they're weeks or months or whatever that we're going through. But the one thing I tell the patients, I look them in the eye and I tell them, you will get through this. You will get through this. And what's important is that we do get through it. One way or another, we always get through it. So I want you to keep that in mind, because I know but the good news is we're getting at the tail end of it. And being in a hospital, COVID, we're at the end. We're getting close to the end. I think by the end of summer, life is going to be pretty back to normal again. Anyway, I'm going to hand it here, and appreciate your time, and hope your day is going well. Thanks again for your time, and appreciate it.